That brings back memories. This is sweet. I actually had a 78 Eldorado Baritz. What is this, 71?
72.
Yeah, I mean, they're super heavy cars. They had tons of power. The thing is literally like driving a lazy boy.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's damn cool. I mean, this is an American cavalry sword. The weird thing is it's been plated over. This isn't the way the cavalry would receive it. It wasn't gold plated. It was polished brass.
A seller proudly brings in a 1977 Los Angeles Dodgers World Series pennant he says was signed by Frank Sinatra himself. Rick narrows his eyes. Chumley fires off Dodgers jokes, and Corey reminds everyone Sinatra wasn't exactly an autograph factory. The seller glows with confidence, calling it his once-in-a-lifetime moment. If real, it's a wild crossover of Rat Pack glamour and Dodger blue.
I have a 1977 World Series Dodgers pennant that I bought at an auction, and I noticed this signature on it.
Looks like Frank Sinatra. Oh, blue eyes, huh?
The seller adds that Sinatra actually attended the '77 World Series games, so snagging a signature wasn't far-fetched. Corey notes Sinatra famously dodged autograph seekers, pushing the suspense higher. It's a strange signature pairing, but not impossible, and the shop leans in to see which way this will go.
Someone probably went and got a pennant and asked him to sign it.
So how did you come across it?
Several of these banners came up at this auction, and I bought them.
It's kind of strange that he actually signed it.
The seller wants $750, banking on Sinatra's fame and Dodgers nostalgia. Rick admits he's not a handwriting expert and doesn't want to guess on a risky signature. He brings in his autograph pro, and the seller nods, hoping the verdict matches his story.
Frank Sinatra on a Dodgers pennant. You know, it's kind of two real things that don't really go together. You know, if you had the actual team signing it, then, you know, I could see a value there. If you had, you know, a Frank Sinatra set list.
Outside, a DeLorean pulls up that looks ready to hit 88 miles per hour, complete with time circuits and a homemade flux capacitor. Rick and Chumley react like kids at Comic-Con, and the seller says he built the replica over 10 years because the movie ending stayed in his imagination. It's a full-blown nostalgia machine with stainless steel swagger.
The DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future. You gotta see this thing in the dark.
Awesome.
I would have to say that the DeLorean time machine is the most attractive of all the movie cars. I don't think there's another vehicle on the planet for any price.
Rick talks through the DeLorean's real reputation. Cool looks, but sluggish performance. But the seller shrugs it off, saying heart matters more than horsepower. He shows off aviation-style switches, custom aluminum details, and a Mr. Fusion made from a coffee grinder. It's a movie buff's dream car packed with passion and personality.
Is this the actual one from the movie?
No, this is a replica that I built. I'm just a huge fan, and it's the ultimate movie car.
What possessed you to build this?
When I was a kid, I saw that car.
Rick and Chum take it for a test drive, and the seller admits no one's ever driven it before. Chum jokes about going back in time to stop Rick's conception, and the car fires up with classic 80s DeLorean charm. It's clunky but eye-catching, and reactions from bystanders are worth a ride alone.
So what's all this back here?
Let me show you. A lot of these parts are military aircraft parts, custom-made aluminum. This, of course, is the famous Mr. Fusion, which is made out of a coffee grinder.
Back in the shop, the seller cites high-dollar sales for similar fan-built DeLoreans. Rick counters reality, mechanical issues, replica status, and a tiny buyer pool. His offer of $10,000 lands hard, and the seller responds with the classic line, "How many time machines have you seen?"
I wouldn't imagine anybody was going to drive it anyway. It was mostly about the props.
So how much you want for this thing?
I've seen cars of this caliber sell for upwards of $100,000.
The seller argues that the car's attention-grabbing power raises its value, but Rick sticks to his original versus replica analogy, Picasso versus almost Picasso. The sting is real. Ultimately, Rick passes, leaving the seller disappointed but still proud of his creation.
I know you got a gazillion man-hours into it and everything like that, but to get it mechanically right, it would cost you more than the car's worth.
The original time machine would probably go for several $1,000,000. So based on that, I would have to say that an almost exacting replica.
Back to the pennant. Autograph expert Steven arrives and immediately links Sinatra to Dodgers history. Huge fan, close friend of Tommy Lasorda, and even sang the national anthem on opening day 1977. That alone makes the signature far more plausible. He examines the felt tip ink and overlap overlapping strokes, confirming it's a live signature, not a print.
Frank Sinatra was a huge baseball fan, and he was a huge Dodger fan. Matter of fact, him and Tommy Lasorda were as close as could be. So on April 7th, 1977, which is the same year as that pennant, he came out opening day, sang the national anthem for him.
Stephen compares the autograph to authenticated Sinatra signatures, noting slight differences but matching angles, pressure, and style. He explains Sinatra often avoided signing or let others do it for him, so nuances matter. The more he talks, the more the pennant leans toward genuine.
The way we know this is a live signature, so that's a good thing. It's actual ink on the item, and he actually signed it, as opposed to being printed or being reproduced.
Okay.
Stephen calls it authentic, giving the signature a solid 7 to 8 strength rating. He values the pennant at around $600. The seller looks relieved, but also surprised. It's real, just not the jackpot he imagined.
Okay, when I take a look here, first of all, the Fs are a little different, but you know what? You could blame that maybe on the item being signed. You have a baseball that's more curved, you have a pennant that's flat. He's probably signing this on a flat surface.
Rick opens at $300, citing Stephen's valuation, while the seller counters at $700 and mentions Sinatra signatures listing for over $1,000 online. Rick stands firm on expert-backed numbers, and they volley offers like a friendly tennis match. Tension rises as they inch toward a middle ground.
Well, you heard what my guy said. Reasonably, I can expect to get $600 out of it. I'll offer you 3.
My research is a little different. Online, Frank Sinatra's signature just plain is $1,200 asking price.
They settle at $475, and the seller beams. He paid only $25 for a pile of pennants and just hit a home run profit. Rick's satisfied too, adding a conversation-worthy Sinatra Dodgers crossover piece to the shop. It's a clean, feel-good win on both sides.
I mean, he works for probably the most reputable company that there is when it comes to autographs. I'll go up to 4 if it helps you.
I don't know that he's an expert on value. He's an expert on signatures.
An older gentleman brings in a self-winding stock ticker machine, and Rick lights up instantly. The seller loves its vintage Wall Street style and shoots for $12,000 to $14,000. But Rick's expression turns skeptical. He explains it's from around 1900 to 1910, not Edison era early, and it needs significant work.
Self-winding stock market ticker tape machine.
Okay, this was basically the first pay TV. This was mass media into your house, but you had to pay for the service.
Rick offers $2,500, and the seller counters at $3,500. They haggle with careful logic. Rare but imperfect items always call for negotiation finesse. After a few measured moves, Rick bumps to $3,000.
The way these wheels are, it's all letters and numbers. I mean, literally, a story would start coming out. Edison invented the first really reliable one, and that was Edison's first really big invention. The reason why they called it self-winding is because earlier ones you actually had to wind up like a clock.
The seller accepts, quietly thrilled. He bought it decades ago for just $30. Rick now owns a charismatic piece of financial tech history that's sure to spark customer curiosity. A tidy, satisfying flip closes out the action.
Sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
Ones that are much earlier than this and a lot better shape, go for that kind of money. This is some of the problems you have with this one right here. It needs to be cleaned up.
A seller arrives confidently with a Model 1860 Civil War officer's sword, claiming it belonged to Colonel Isaac Bassett, who supposedly fought in 22 battles and ended up a brevet general. He says he found it near Yosemite and even thinks the blade snapped during combat. Rick listens carefully. Big claims sound great, but proof and condition will make or break this story.
A cavalry sword.
Civil War officer sword, model 1860. Belonged to Colonel Bassett.
This is pretty cool.
Rick points out the dings on the blade look more like playful backyard fencing than grim battlefield clashes. He reminds the seller that Civil War fights were mostly guns and bayonets, not dramatic sword duels. The seller pushes back hard, insisting the breaks are battle-born, and Rick decides it's time for an expert before this debate gets any spicier.
Civil War as a captain into the 17th Regiment, one of the most highly decorated officers because he went in as captain, came out as a brev general.
The scene pivots to something wonderfully odd, a Humphreys homeopathic veterinary kit from the 1890s. Each bottle claims to cure everything from skin issues to worms to sexual weakness in animals, leaving Rick both amused and mildly disturbed. He explains these pre-FDA remedies mixed alcohol with wild promises, making the kit rare, quirky, and perfect for sparking conversations.
For the cure of horses, cattle, sheep, hogs, dogs, and poultry. Are you a veterinarian?
No.
Into horse medicine?
I bought a while back. I enjoyed it, and now it's time to sell it and try to make some money and move on.
Negotiations roll in, with the seller asking somewhere in the mid-hundreds. Rick counters by noting rarity means nothing if demand dries up, especially when you need the one collector who dreams of 19th century horse medicine. After a little back and forth, Rick lands at a firm $450, and the seller agrees. Quirky history secured.
Yeah, I'd like to sell it.
How much you looking for?
$650.
Okay. It's neat, it's weird, but it's a limited market. I'll give you $400 for it.
Next comes a 1936 Berlin Olympic pin accompanied by a story that sounds straight off a movie set. The seller claims he won it in a poker game from a German guy nicknamed Goose, who used the pin to settle his tab. Rick jokes about the legality of that trade, while the seller offers only a shrug in silence.
What do we have there?
We got a 1936 Olympic pin from Berlin, Germany.
Where in the world did you find this?
Well, 2 or 3 years ago, I was playing poker with this old German man. We called him Goose. I beat him out of a couple $100. And
Rick walks through the history. The 1936 Olympics were Hitler's massive propaganda stage, and while meaningful, the pins were produced in huge quantities. The seller asks for $300, but Rick counters much lower, treating it more like a souvenir than a treasure. The seller pushes back, hoping the story alone can lift the price.
Hitler wanted to show the world that he had the master race and the greatest economy and all this other stuff, and all he really did was show the world he was an ass. But the people in Berlin sort of liked it because it was the first time in years where they actually had a little bit of freedom.
The negotiation ends neatly at $100, the exact amount Goose reportedly owed. The seller laughs, finally cashing in that poker debt after years of holding the pin. Rick gets a small win, and the seller gets closure worthy of a sitcom episode.
Well, I mean, it's really historically significant, but every other gift shop would have these things.
all right,
So I'll give you $75.
can't do 200.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you $100.
Then 2 retro robots march into the showroom, a boxed Mark's Colonel Haphazard and a Roscoe astronaut. They're crisp, colorful, and dripping with space race charm, and the seller wants $2,500 each. Corey is smitten but visibly stunned by the steep price tag.
Let's see, I got a Colonel Haphazard, 1965 with the box, in really good shape, and Roscoe Nomura, 1962 astronaut robot. This one is really nice.
Toy expert Johnny examines both robots, checking lights, mechanisms, and originality. When he fires one up, it glows like a childhood dream brought back to life. He notes the complete Colonel Haphazard with box is attractive, and Roscoe's rarity adds even more appeal.
I mean, if I was a kid in the 60s, these two would be going at it all day long, you know? That's so cool, man. I love these.
Okay. Well, what do you think about the value of these?
For Colonel Haphazard, I mean, his condition is tremendous. This right here you could easily get conservatively. And
Johnny lays out values, around $1,500 for Colonel Haphazard and roughly $1,700 to $1,800 for Roscoe, a combined estimate near $3,200. It's respectable but far below the seller's wishful $5 grand total. The news hits like a soft landing rather than the moonshot he hoped for.
$1,500 range for him. And then, you know, the Roscoe astronaut definitely is more rare. I've seen less of them. I would put a value of probably 17 to 18. You could easily get about 3,200 for the pair.
All right, well, thanks for coming down.
Cool, anytime.
Thank you.
Take care.
Corey opens negotiations around $1,900 in inches up to a ceiling of $2,200. The seller insists on staying above $3,000 and decides to walk. It's a tough pass, but pristine vintage robots can demand specialized buyers willing to chase top-tier prices elsewhere.
For condition, it worked perfectly. Everything was original. The Colonel Haphazard also was in great condition and fully working. And I was excited to see the box. It definitely makes a big difference in the value.
So you heard what Johnny had to say?
I need $4,000 for the pair.
It's not gonna happen. I mean, I see the value in them, but I can't pay that much for them.
A Dutch milk glass oil lamp from the Royal Za line floats in next, but Rick quickly spots trouble, mismatched parts, and an old solder repair tank its value. Even though it looks Victorian elegant, the flaws pull it straight off the collectible cliff. Rick politely declines, leaving the seller disappointed but wiser.
Just the original shade, the original flume, And then we have the original porcelain oil lamp base.
Okay. It's obviously a kerosene lamp. Kerosene was invented in the 1850s and was commercialized by the 1860s.
Back to the Civil War sword, this time with a historian weighing in. He confirms Bassett's career timeline and says the sword was likely a presentation piece given around July 1863 near Gettysburg. But the heartbreak hits hard. The break doesn't look like battle damage at all, but rather a clean, unnatural snap with no known record of such an incident.
Okay, this is the Colonel Bassett that you called me
yes,
about?
that is the guy, Colonel Bassett. I've never heard of him.
One of the things about the Civil War is there are so many men involved that a lot of officers sort of drop off the radar.
The historian's verdict stings. If the sword were intact, it could hit $10,000, but in its current battered state, maybe $2,500. Rick delivers the number gently, but the seller refuses to go that low. They shake hands and part with mutual frustration and a heavy cloud of what could have been.
I'll tell you right now, if this thing was in beautiful condition, I'd offer you $10,000 for it, because you have a Civil War general sword. It's just, the break in it just detracts so much. In this shape, I'll offer you $2,500.
Well, I'll have to decline that.
Okay.
The episode opens with a rolling couch of a car, a 70s Cadillac Eldorado that looks like a yacht on wheels. Rick lights up, remembering his own 78, while the seller brags about the 500 cubic inch engine and super comfy ride, practically selling it as a mobile living room.
This is sweet. I actually had a 78 Eldorado Baritz. What is this, 71?
72.
Okay.
Yeah, the Vogue tires on there, 500 cubic inch motor.
Yeah, I mean, they're super heavy cars. They had tons of power. The thing is literally like driving a lazy boy.
Rick and Corey sink into the seats and take it for a spin around Vegas. The car glides along so smoothly it feels less like a test drive and more like a 70s nostalgia ride, complete with Rick joking about just how huge the thing is.
No electronic ignition here. This is still points and a coil and a condenser. Yeah, that's all motor in there.
Do you mind if we take it for a spin?
You sure can, sir.
All right, let's go. Let's go, dude. Back in the early 1970s, Cadillac was selling over 40,000 Eldorados a year.
When they get back, the money talk starts fast. The seller wants $7,000, but Rick counters at $3,100, pointing out it's not one of the 60s collector favorites. The seller pushes Rick up to $3,600, and Rick finally caves, turning it into a deal over a few $100.
Realistically, yeah, I can maybe get $4 grand, $4,500 out. I'll give you $3,100 for it. It's a fair price.
It's not one of the 60s Cadillacs people dream over.
Right. Would you entertain 3,800?
Go 35.
Next, a seller brings in a Lionel train he claims once belonged to Johnny Cash himself. Rick doubts a poor kid born in 1932 would have owned such a nice toy as an infant, so he eyes both the story and the price with serious suspicion.
One thing I always say about Johnny Cash, if you take a list of the top 10 coolest guys ever, he's on the list twice.
I love trains because my dad basically got me started, and when he passed away, I ended up opening up his trains, and I've been into it ever since.
The seller shows a letter as proof, but it's written by someone at a repair shop, not Johnny Cash. That's not enough for Rick, so he calls in toy expert Johnny to figure out whether this train is truly tied to the man in black or just wishful thinking.
All right, so do we have a whole chain of custody or anything?
The gentleman who bought it from the repair shop, he was given this letter to explain the chain of command.
Okay, it's definitely an interesting story. I'm assuming you want to sell it. How much do you want for it?
The expert loves the train and connects it to Johnny Cash's long-standing fascination with railroads. However, he points out it's been restored with mismatched parts, which knocks collector value down to about $500 to $1,200, unless its Cash connection can be fully confirmed.
Where he was in trains, singing songs about trains, and talking about trains also. It was a big deal. Johnny Cash was a kid from the Great Depression. So he grew up, there was a train just outside of his house. So it was a good mix for him and Lionel to get together in the 70s. I think it's great, man. You mind if I take a closer look and see what we got here?
After some detective work, the expert gets a confirmation from Johnny's brother, Tommy Cash, that the train did belong to Johnny and was later restored as a gift for his son. That boosts its value to around $2,500 to $3,000. Not quite the seller's dream, but far better than the initial low estimate.
It took a lot of phone calls, but by 6 degrees of separation, I was able to make contact with Tommy Cash.
Okay.
And we got some feedback on the item. I sent him some pictures, and we're able to verify that this was in fact owned by Johnny Cash.
Yes.
Rick then does his usual negotiating dance, opening at $1,500 while the seller shoots for $8,000. After some stubborn back and forth, Rick sticks to his final offer of $2,000, and the seller reluctantly accepts, trading a piece of Cash family history for tuition money.
Well, I believe it'd be worth a lot more if this was something that belonged to Johnny Cash as a kid. And that'd be a big difference, you know.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Thank you.
You never know what's gonna happen, you know? You make a few phone calls and then the next thing you know, you're talking to Tommy Cash. And I was able to hold the train that Johnny Cash owned. I mean, this made my day and it still gives me goosebumps talking about it.
In a strange detour, a seller tries to pawn an antique chicken incubator for $550. Rick counters at $75, and despite some haggling, neither side budges enough. Rick won't pass $100, and the seller won't drop below $200, so the incubator walks right back out.
So you thought, hey, I'll give it a shot.
Pretty much. This was an old kerosene-fueled chicken incubator. I've never been a farmer, so I'm not entirely sure how this thing works. I'd like to get $550 for it, but I'd be willing to take between $250 and $300.
A Tibetan Buddha statue then appears, with the seller asking $10,000 after seeing something similar online. Rick sees age and quality, but isn't convinced on price, so he brings in Phineas, a professor who looks like he spends his weekends in ancient temples.
All the jewelry, the nice hair, everything else like that. Do you know much about it?
No, I think he got it from a garage sale.
Okay. It doesn't surprise me because in World War II, we did have some people in China. Some of the stuff was brought back.
Phineas examines the statue and reveals it's an 18th century Tibetan Avalokiteshvara figure from around 1750. He notes the intricate detailing and spiritual symbolism and estimates it could bring $10,000 to $15,000 at auction, suddenly turning the dusty statue into a serious prize.
I was thinking it's Tibetan Buddhist.
Wow, Rick, I'm getting impressed. You're absolutely right. I'm so glad you called me to see this one because I've been to Tibet. I was in Lhasa and in the Potala Palace, and I saw some very old photographs there of a piece that looked very much like this.
Negotiations get intense as the seller sticks to his $10,000 asking price. Rick counters $7,500 and holds firm, and eventually the seller agrees, walking away thrilled after cashing in on a gifted statue.
What, 10,000?
I'm thinking closer to 6.
No.
Okay. He just said I can get maybe 10 grand at auction. Okay. If I give you 10 grand, there's no money to be made. I will give you 7,500. I will not give you a penny more. That is the best I can do. And realize, okay,